Hello, welcome to WD18, the Watford fan channel, Evening Hornets. Hope you're all doing fantastically well. Welcome to our prediction show ahead of the 23-24 season. I'm joined by Mr. Charlie Zazzera, Mr. Sam Ucko, to talk all things Watford and predict what is going to happen this season. Now, no one actually knows what's going to happen, but we're going to give it our best shot. Just from my end anyway, starting off, there's some hot takes in there, and I'm sure it'll get people talking in the comment section. So make sure in the live chat you get involved, leave a like, subscribe, and we'd love to hear what you have to say. Sam, look, I'm going to throw it over to you first, buddy. We were talking last time about sort of purchases, Assemblonga, Joao Pedro. You know, the Assemblonga one, slightly questionable, but you've gone another level, mate. Just explain to people. It's not in the shop, by the way, but just explain to people what you've done with your next shirt.
God, well, it's not really the next one. It's one I forgot to show it in the last stream because I've had it in a box in the corner of my bedroom, hiding it away, trying to forget about it. But it was a night out. I got back and I was in bed and I was looking through Twitter, saw a special offer at the Hornet shop. Ended up on the auction side of things, and
the home's under the hammer of the Watford.
I didn't remember doing this, and I spent 50 quid on this, the match-worn Arouge shirt. So we're hoping that Arouge goes on to do big things in his career and hopefully make a bit of profit on this. But other than that, probably not my finest purchase.
Do you know what? I disagree, mate. I think that's Watford heritage for me. Like that and Assemblonga, what a strike partnership. Charlie, mate, how you getting on?
I'm good. Down in Watford for a couple of weeks. We've got QPR coming up, Stevenage, Plymouth, and it was good to meet up with you two lads last week. We threw around some new ideas for the upcoming season. Had a lovely Fratellis. So I'm excited to get this season going.
Fratelli, what a shout, by the way. I don't know if anyone in the comment section has been, but wow. Also on a match day, I think you get 10% off if you're a season ticket holder. So Fratelli, if you want to sponsor us, hit us up. Right, getting into today. So there's a bit of Watford news, and Anthony's already mentioned it in the comment section. Hope you hadn't finalised your right back reaction. I think he means predictions for this season. So news coming out of Watford today that Joao Ferreira has joined Udinese on a season-long loan. Now, I think we could have all predicted the team that he would join on loan, but the fact he's gone out on loan, Sam, is what surprised anyone. Just your reaction to that news, because I think you can always judge it's like a bit of Watford news by the retweets and also the comments on the post, and there was more comments than engagement on the actual tweet itself. So what's your reaction to that news, mate?
Yeah, I think the initial reaction from most people, at least on my part, was just pure shock, to be honest with you. I was so surprised to see that breaking news come out because, to be honest with you, we know the squad isn't as probably strong as it could be or even should be going into the season. But I was actually pretty happy with the right back position. I thought Andrews starting. I really like Ryan Andrews. We'll come on to him later in the video. Joao Ferreira's backup, or rotating with Andrews, with Jeremy Ngakia, who I think has a lot of work to do to get probably his career back on track as a third choice option as well, helping out where he can. But now I just think we're light in that position again. Andrews, as I just said, I really like him, but at the same time, it is a bit of a risk considering how inexperienced he is. And Ngakia is just a bit hit and miss, to be honest. He hasn't really kicked on as we all thought he would. So I was really shocked that we've allowed Joao Ferreira to go. I think I saw somewhere as well that it was something that was being discussed internally for a while. So, I mean, I would say I wish Joao all the best, which I do, but we didn't really get to know him, to be honest with you, either.
Yeah, this is the interesting thing. Sorry, Charlie, go on, mate.
I don't think I was going to say so. The audio must have
jumped. Sorry, I thought it must have lagged. Sorry, my bad. I was just going to say about...
You really liked Joao Ferreira, didn't you?
Yeah. I really liked Joao. The only thing, the only mark I had against him was regarding injuries, just because he had picked up a couple, particularly that hamstring was a little bit dodgy. But according to Adam Leventhal, Charlie, it'd been, as Sam said, it'd been discussed internally for a while. Valérien Ismaël wants 2 players per position in fullback. Ferreira was actually seen as someone who could play left back as well as times he did last season. So now we have Andrews and then Ngakia at right back, and Jamal Lewis and Morris at left back. For you, do you agree with that decision to have 2 per side?
I mean, when you get like the squad depth chart and you kind of want at least 2 for each side, I think definitely at least when you look at a championship season, how many games there are, I would not be surprised if you see another versatile winger or fullback coming in that can maybe play each side. Again, looking at Udinese's squad, it is bloated, especially in the defenders department. So I wouldn't be surprised if something came the other way. Shame with Ferreira, because he did look like he had some good attributes, but maybe he didn't want to be here. And if that's the case, see you later. And one of the big positives that I'm taking out of it is they've obviously trusted their faith in Ryan Andrews. And I'm really excited to see, can we get behind like a genuine one of our own, and can he go on to be an amazing player for Watford? So I'm hoping he's got that. He's earned that shirt for me so far. And hopefully he can really make it his own, and hopefully he can grow and become an important player for us.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, from my perspective, Sam, I've got a little bit of a theory with this in terms of Ngakia, because for me, out of all the right backs that we have, Ferreira is probably the most proven to the way Ishmael wants to play. And I was actually quite, as you mentioned, I was quite excited to watch him this season. But I struggle to believe, whilst I think it's great for Andrews, I think it was a perfect rotation between Ferreira and Andrews, especially as we don't know if Andrews playing, majority of a championship season, which is a lot for any player, but particularly someone who's only just coming at the back end of the season. For me, I think this is a case of that they haven't managed to shift Ngakia on, and this is potentially an easier option. Just as obviously Ferreira's come in, we can loan him out, and then we can keep Andrews and Ngakia. But that decision to have two per side, what's your thoughts on that?
It's a risk, certainly. I think they're probably thinking in the back of their heads as well, particularly in left back. You've got Ken Sema who can cover in that position as well. Okay. I'd probably say though, as you mentioned earlier with Ferreira, he's someone who you could utilise on both sides. Did we see him at all at left back? I can't.
He's been playing pre-season at left back, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think so. So I think it would have been useful to have someone who could play just across both. So you have two on each side and then someone who can also rotate. But is what it is. I still think we need to bring someone else in that position just to be 100% certain. But I agree with Charlie. I think it's good to see they're putting such trust in Andrews. Big season for Jeremy Ngakia now. This is last chance for him in my eyes. Not to say that he's done anything wrong necessarily. I've never really doubted his effort. I think he's someone who does try. I just don't think that he's kicked on at all from what the play that we thought we were getting from West Ham. I don't think he's lived up to those heights at all. And people might disagree with me with that. So let me know in the comments as well what you think of Ngakia at the moment.
Do you know what, mate? I think he's one of those players that are almost liking him to Sarr, one of those who has probably his development's probably been affected by the unstable environment at Watford, and that can happen to some players. Woody in the comment section, Andrew's a strong player this season. We will see the best of him. Jack says having two fullbacks either side is absolutely fine, but having Ngakia over Ferreira isn't okay. We just look so light there. Now Taylor says doesn't look like we are playing a back three. Charlie,
in possession or out of possession, I think. Isn't it look like out of possession we're going with five at the back where Sierralta or someone else is going to drop into the three, and then out of possession looks like we're playing 4-3-3. So it's going to be interesting to see. Just a point you said, Jacob, about rotation, you'd have liked for Ferreira and Andrews to be rotating, but realistically, you're not going to play one after the other. And if you're making Andrews your main right back, is Joao Ferreira going to want to sit on the bench? So that's my thinking. But I think there's other areas that we need to be worried about. But yeah, just you'll never be surprised with a bit of Watford news. So nothing comes as a shock these days. But
just going to throw it on the radar, Sam. Could we see the return of Mr. Adam Messina? Now we're looking at that defensive department at Udinese. He basically featured off the bench at Udinese last season. Anthony would take him in a back three. Taylor says I can now see Messina coming back, which would be phenomenal just for the chant itself. But would you take Messina back? I mean, we are going to see an Udinese player. I think it's almost guaranteed. Cancel the odds, cancel the betting. There probably will be an Udinese player coming to Watford before deadline day. But Ebosele was mentioned by yourself today. Messina.
Yeah, I just saw WD18 legend Hornet Shane in the comments mentioned Ebosele's name in there as well. I do agree with you, Jacob. I think we are going to see at least one or two names come in from Udinese. And as I said on the video a few weeks ago, it would not shock me if that's Adam Messina, because he hasn't played too much at Udinese. I think he did tear his ACL or do some knee damage to himself last season. So I think he's someone who can play in the back three, as we say. He can play at left back And I think it would not shock me at all if we saw Adam Messina come back, because you assume because Udinese are in a high position that they're going to want to keep the better defenders as well. And if Messina's not playing, they're probably going to look to offload him, and it wouldn't shock me if he comes to us. I'm not sure, Charlie, would you take Messina back? I think it's a question between, do you think he'll come back and would you take him back?
A pint of Moretti in the Red Lion is probably about 20 quid. So if he does well with his skin, I think never go back personally. I would love to see a left-footed defender come in. It's annoying seeing. I swear Paul Heckingbottom must have watched our 5 players Watford should sign video, because they got that Benny Traore and now they're getting Ashton Trusty apparently. But I would like to see a left-footed defender come in. I think that'd be important. I'm not too keen on Messina coming in. I would like to see one of Udinese's flying wingers that they've got in Ebiseli or Zamora, who impressed me when he was at Bournemouth last season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think someone's just called me out for a QPR colour mug there. Unbelievable. It was a last-minute tea, Peter. Don't kill me, mate. It's not a sort of good luck sign for next week. One player that has been mentioned, well, with Messina, what I would say is, and I did say, Sam, I think you quote me on this, I always thought Messina would be better as a centre-back than he would be a left-back. And I think a left centre-back in a back three is probably his best position. Now, injury-wise, that's the only thing I'm thinking with Messina. But we do know at this level, and I think you look at the other options we've got, I wouldn't be totally against it if it was in the left centre-back. But I think Ebiseli would probably be the more exciting signing. I think that's probably
100%, yeah. And Adam Messina is responsible for the greatest challenge I've ever seen from a Watford player against Norwich in Cisco's first game, I think it was, wasn't it? I think it was Pukki was doing goal.
That was actually Miguel Britos against Brighton.
Oh.
Do you know what I would say? Adam Messina produced not only the greatest tackle, but the greatest lockdown limbs away at Cardiff. Sorry, we've digressed. We move on to the second bit of Watford news before we get into predictions. Make sure you do get involved with the predictions. We've got about 7 categories that we're going to be going through, so make sure you stick around. Daniel Bachmann, the other big bit of news since we last did a stream. First off, he's been given a new 5-year deal, which had been rumoured for a little bit. And he's been officially made club captain as part of a leadership group, which I'll go through in just a moment. But Charlie, first off, Bachmann, decision to make Bachmann captain and decision to give Bachmann a new deal. Your thoughts on those two? Because I don't think they overlap, do they? I think they're 2 separate discussions.
Yeah. Captain, I wasn't really surprised. If you look who we want captain, I think everyone says Porteous, but he's played about 15 to 20 games for the club. He's still very young. One thing that I know, and I've spoke to Dan, he is one of the members that you can guarantee he truly cares about the club. We have seen those emotions spill over at times, which I think he needs to work on. I just think we haven't got that many captain materials in our team at all. I think it shows when you look at the leadership team that Livermore goes straight in there. So as in the appointment for a captain, I'm fine with it because I don't know who else. Even Imran Loser for me could have been one. I mean, you look at who our captain was last season, 21-year-old Joao Pedro. So it goes to show interested about the leadership team coming in as well, which is Loser, Wesley Hoot, Livermore, Ben Hamer. So we are missing. Yeah, we are against. Is Ken Semmer make up the leadership team?
Yeah, so it's Bachmann captain, Ben Hamer, Wesley Hoot, Jake Livermore, Imran Loser, and Ken Semmer. Yeah,
it's not. It doesn't scream leadership to you. So I think that's something we're still looking for. And in terms of the contract, I was shocked by the length of it. I was just surprised at what we would give to him. Like, you think a 5-year contract would be someone your best player. I think Dan is still kind of some of his abilities and attributes aren't at the level of what we'd like. I think shot stopping, he is probably one of the best in the league, but he lacks in other areas. So I was shocked, but then again, nothing that Gino Pozzo or Watford does shock me these days. So what did you think?
On Sam.
Yeah, I think as Jacob said, it's important to separate the two, as the captain decision and the 5-year decision. The 5-year decision I don't agree with, to be honest with you. I think there's probably better goalkeepers we could be looking at over the next 5 years. I know that doesn't mean, I know a 5-year deal doesn't mean he's going to stay for 5 years, but I still like to think that it's not the long-term plan, because I think there's evident flaws to his game, such as I think he needs to be more aggressive when coming off his line. His distribution could be better as well. And turns out, I thought he was a pretty good shot stopper, but looking at the stats, it wasn't as impressive as we all thought it was. I don't think. I think that's probably where the eye test comes in rather than stats. But the stats didn't make for great viewing, I don't think. But the captain decision, I was fine with it, to be honest with you, because to me last season, one of the things that really got to me was it looked like not enough of those players cared. And I think Bachmann was one of those who looked like he cared, if not sometimes too much. I look at the red card against Huddersfield for that scorpion kick or whatever it was, the ridiculous tackle at the end. And I'm not excusing it at all, because complete lack of professionalism there from Dan Bachmann. But in a way, I think it showed that he cared. And it was almost too much. The frustration got to him. So we need to learn to control that better. But the one that I look back to mainly is I was at Blackburn away on a Tuesday night when we lost 2-0. And I remember pretty much all the players just went straight down the tunnel, but Bachmann came over and he was almost Holobasket Southampton-esque, leaning over into the away end, apologising to fans, saying we'll sort it out. It was quite close to the beginning of the season, so ultimately they didn't manage to sort it out, but I really admired that from him. And he's been here probably one of the longest at the club, so I respect the decision to make him captain. Just the 5-year deal wasn't for me.
Yeah, I think the age also, just to throw that in there in terms of him being 29. So if it does go through, he'll leave the club at 34. I mean, from my perspective, it does kind of leave us in a difficult situation if we did want to move him on, because Dan obviously is locked in a contract for 5 years. So the ball's in his court really in that respect. But I think at the end of the day, one thing I would say is I think it's very fair to blame Dan for either of the decisions. Number one, the club have offered him the contract, so he's obviously going to accept it. And number two, they've offered him the captaincy, and that was Valérien Ismaël's choice. So if you're in Dan Bachmann's shoes, you're going to accept both of those opportunities. And I think it's important to make clear that it was Valérien Ismaël's decision to make Dan captain alongside the leadership group for the season. But I agree with what Charlie said in terms of it does scream that we do lack some leaders. The fact that, Hamer's barely played for us, Hoop joined in January, Livermore's a new signing, Loser and Sema are the only two other players where they've actually been here more than a year. So, I think it's very. I think the criticism of Bachmann, we don't want to give it too much oxygen, to be completely honest with you, but I think any sort of personal abuse or those sort of comments is totally unacceptable. And yeah, I think we should just get behind Dan for the rest of the season, to be completely honest with you. Looking at the comment section, Ricky, I think it's disgraceful the comments that were made about him. At the end, they put Dan's got a lot of stick. Rio says Bachmann is 23rd out of 30 keepers in the league for shot stopping, according to Lou Orns. I think that's the stat Sam was referring to just a minute ago. And also, I think just on this, Charlie, obviously someone who works in social media, Bachmann blocked a lot of fans on Twitter when they voiced their unhappiness with the decision. From my perspective, mate, I can't really blame him for doing that.
Yeah, I didn't want to say too much on it because I don't want to cause any more division in the fan base, which I think there already is. I think everyone needs to try and get together. But some of the personal abuse that he's received is absolutely pathetic. And you're not a Watford supporter if you're not supporting the players. The ball hasn't even been kicked yet, and yeah, there's just no need for that. I can hold my hands up and say there's some people that I'd mute or block because you can handle your own social media as you want. So if that's how he feels, his experience of social media is going to be better, then fair play to him. I spoke to Dan last year on Watford FC Spaces, and he was absolutely brilliant, really nice guy, good character. And like I said, he's been here for a long time. He obviously cares about the club. So anything other than initial support, I think, is really harsh. And if we did watch the games last season, there was some games like Burnley at home where he was one of our better players and he did keep us into games. So, yeah, I'm fully backing Dan for the season.
Yeah, we'll leave that stuff there in terms of that conversation. But just on the decision itself, HJ says you have to trust Valérien Ismaël's decision and respect what he has done and get behind Bachmann. Sadly, goalkeepers are often remembered for errors rather than great saves, which is a really good point. There was one more comment just last before we get onto the predictions. George says, I've often thought that Dan seems to actually put players off a defending corner situation. Nothing wrong with commanding the box, but he never convinces me. So kind of split opinions, which I think is pretty much how it sums up the consensus. But look, one thing is for certain, as the guys mentioned, we need to get behind him come Saturday and give him a good reception when he runs towards the rookery, which I'm sure we will do. Anyway, moving on to the predictions for next season. Now, we've got 7 categories, which I think Charlie actually put these together. So there's some really good shouts in there. Well, hopefully anyway. We're going to go round, starting with Charlie. So
Jacob, before we go into the actual predictions, I'll just be quite curious to get your guys' opinion on, like, how are you feeling? We've obviously had pre-season now. We're 4 or 5 days away. How are you feeling about going into the 23-24 season?
Go on, Sam.
My expectations are on the floor, which makes me excited. No, I genuinely think it is. I think last season was so miserable. This season, pre-season, probably in my eyes, it hasn't gone as it should have done. I'd have liked. I think the outgoings is brilliant, but I think there should have been more incomings. I think the team looks really weak, which to me looks like anything above surviving relegation will be a positive. I think for me, maybe my expectations on the floor with that. I think a mid-table finish, and as long as we see progress, a bigger connection to between the fans and the team, and an identity under Valerian Ismail, I think I'll be happy with. So I don't think I'm asking for too much with that. So yeah, I'm buzzing, and I think it might just be the new season optimism that gets to me every season. But can't wait for Saturday.
Do you know what, Sam? I think there's something definitely to read into, like the expectation management, because if I think back to this time last year, Rob had done that unbelievable sort of interviews with the fans. When we spoke to him, we were like, oh my God, this is going to be unbelievable. Can't wait for this season. Obviously the come hella high water stuff is gone now. But the point is, I think everyone was kind of on the same page going, wow, this is going to be an amazing season. Yeah. Now, I'm not. It's not that.
Good, by the way, it's exactly a year since we beat Sheffield United with the front three of Sarr, Dennis, and Pedro.
Wow, and to think that 20 players I can count that have left the club now, which is crazy. But I think the point is, it's not that my expectations are completely on the floor. I just don't have any expectation, which is quite nice. Bizarrely, like we might not do as well as people think well. Some people outsiders might think we'll do a little bit better, but I'm kind of in the sort of mindset of, as long as I go to the games and enjoy it, as long as I see some players that I want to see wearing a Watford shirt, and we're playing some stuff that you feel like you can understand why we're trying to play a certain way, and we get some wins in there, I'd be quite happy with that, and then build on it. I've already said I'm not expecting us to go up this season, but I think it'd be important to build on it for next season and put a real push together for me, Charlie. But I don't know about you, but the actual lack of expectation from my end is probably quite nice, really. Maybe that's just me being a little bit pessimistic.
I feel like this is like when I first started supporting Watford, like early 2000s, when we were always the underdog. And even when we went up first time round under AD Boothroyd, like no one tipped us to do that. And I think we were suited to the underdog tags. And that's why I think we actually done quite well in the Premier League. I feel like whenever we've got a bit of expectations or we think we've got the better team, we're not that. It doesn't really suit us. And I think that kind of Graham Taylor kind of epitomised that for us, and going around for all the leagues, and do you know what I mean, keep surprising. So yeah, low expectations. My biggest thing I'm looking out for, can we just get a connection from a team? I've mentioned twice in the stream, like I don't like, you'll never be surprised or something for Watford, but I still like the idea that recruitment, I still don't think any of us know what's going to happen yet. I'm looking at some of the business that teams like Cardiff are doing, and you're thinking, oh, we've got better infrastructure, we've got better players, we should be getting players of that ilk or even better. So half of me is a bit optimistic that we can recruit September, and because at the minute we look bare, but hopefully we can get some players that look fit and raring to go. We have done the last couple of seasons, even late with Keenan Davis and Hamza Chowdhury. So, yeah, low expectations. It's only one way. Only one way we can go.
That's a really good point about Watford being the underdog. So I think we've always thrived in that position. The only thing I would say, and we'll get onto it in a moment, I think it's actually one of the hardest seasons to predict for this Watford team, because I think there's so many unknowns. There's so many questions that we don't even really know what the lineup's going to be. We've got a kind of little idea, but will a certain player play in that position? I mean, Searauter's probably nailed on for defensive midfield. But the point is that I honestly haven't got a clue, Sam. But look, we'll get into the predictions. That's why we're here today. And interesting to note, as Shane says, the Vic is mostly sold out for the QPR game. It didn't sell out once during last season, even for the derby, which is a really interesting point, Shane. So look, we'll move on. Prediction time. So who wants to start, Sam or Charlie? Rock, paper, scissors, or just go for it?
Charlie, you go first.
Right. Well, so the Charlie, should we let them know about the categories first, or one by one?
Yeah, go through the list and then we'll go through them.
Sweet. Okay, so the list of categories. So we've got a top scorer prediction, head coach prediction, biggest surprise, hot take for the season, best signing, player of the season, young player of the season, and where will Watford finish. So if you're in the live chat, guys, as we go through each one, let us know and we'll get your predictions on screen after each of us have gone through it. So Charlie, to kick us off, top scorer for next season prediction is...
The Crow, Vakun Bayo.
Wow.
Just looking at the squad we've got going on, looking at the games pre-season, although he missed a sitter against Palace, he scored 2 against Peterborough. We have to remember with Valérien Ismaël, he's going to be strikers on 60 minutes, so I think Bayo is going to get lots of game time. I think unless we bring in a striker late tonight, tomorrow, he's guaranteed to be playing QPR, possibly Plymouth. Last season, he didn't play that much for us, but he did score a few big goals. Norwich, Middlesbrough, scored that worldie away at Rotherham, didn't he? So I think he's quite good out of possession. I think he could help. I think he's quite suited to Val's system. I don't think he's the highest quality of player we could have there. And I do think he could be replaced, but I think he's going to get plenty of minutes. And I couldn't really think of anyone else that I wanted to give it to. I did think of Imran Loser because I think Loser will be on penalties, possibly free kicks, and I think Loser could play an important part. But I think Bayo could get maybe 10 plus goals this season.
That's a huge shout. Sam's reaction said it all. Surprise.
I like Bayo.
What I would say, the comments are absolutely popping off at the moment. We've got said boom boom. Let me hear you say Bayo. We've got Woody Bayo. Feed the crow. He scores a goal. Bayo. Sam, hit me.
Mr. Thomas Ince.
Oh,
I'm going wow. Yeah, I know he's injured at the moment, but I like Bayo, and I wouldn't mind him as a backup striker, but there aren't too many goals, it looks like, in the team at the moment. And when he's fit, I know he's injured at the moment, it seems, but I'm going to go with Ince as our top scorer. I think when he's playing, he took penalties and set pieces at Reading. So I'm chucking the Imran Loser argument here at Tom Ince as well, and I think he'll score a few goals for us.
Wow.
I can't wait to watch this back at the end of the season when Ince plays about 2 games.
This could age phenomenally, Sam.
Yeah.
Jacob?
So I had Bayo written down, but just what I will say is if we bring in another striker, I think that striker will be our top goal scorer, is what I would say. So at the minute, out of the current players, I think Bayo's got the highest chance of, as you say, Charlie, is all the listeners Charlie said, I'm not going to repeat them, of being the top goal scorer. But what I would say is if we bring in someone else, I think they'll become the top goal scorer. So at the minute, Bayo, but if we bring in another...
Reece Healey deserves a bit of a mention. It doesn't seem like he's played too much pre-season. I listened to the Not Top 20 pod this morning, which is a brilliant championship podcast, and they were quite impressive. Reece Healey said he was a gunman at this level, so he obviously did well in France. So he could be with a good shout.
Quick one before we move on. Who do you guys rather, Kiefer Moore or Morelos? Quick fire.
Kiefer.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say Kiefer Moore, but Morelos would be absolutely box office.
Let me just rephrase that, Charlie. Morelos and Porteous in the same team would be box office. Jesus. So I would actually I'd go Kiefer Moore, but I'm really here for a bit of Morelos action. Moving on to the next one, Charlie Zazzera, head coach prediction. So just elaborate what you mean by that. So is that just how well they do, whether they stay? What's the
I think I think we all know as Watford fans how our head coach situation has gone in recent years. So the category was mainly kind of the status of our head coach, how long it'll last, how many head coaches we'll have. And I'm going to be optimistic and say it in my chest, but I think Big Val is going to last one full season, at least at Watford. I think the club, Manga, everyone recognises how burnt we got with Rob Edwards last season. Don't want to talk too much about it. We've invested. We went for Val early. It looks like we're recruiting for him. He's Manga's man. Look, it is. If you look at all the evidence, it does suggest that if we're 20th or whatever in November, October, that Gino will pull the trigger. But I'm just praying, stick with him. I mean, even if it is a terrible season, I honestly think we would be better off sticking with him and changing manager at the end of the season. But I'm going to optimistically say I think Val is going to last at least a season as Watford manager.
Samuel, follow that up.
3. I'm going
months or 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 games,
3 games,
3 hours.
We've got the next 3 seconds knowing us. Yeah, I'll go with 3 managers. Again, to be honest with you, I think that's been the trend over the last few years. I think I'll give Ismail until, I reckon he'll have till November. Then I reckon the new manager will have until March. And then someone will come in, probably Steve Bruce or something, until the end of the season.
Do you know what, Sam? I applaud you for how specific that was, because that research has been done there.
I've thought about it. Okay, so we've got someone who is he's known in the Championship, but it's almost a modern playing style. So he'll come in, start off with that. Then we'll go for someone sort of in the Ranieri, Slaven Bilic mold, who's sort of been proven-ish, but has something a bit to prove at this level as well. I haven't really put my finger on who it could be. Maybe someone. I've always said Club Puel. I could just see it at Watford. So Club Puel will be my second shout, and then for third, I'm going to go either Steve Bruce. I think they'll give it to, or Big Sam, something like that. Or if not,
come on, Sam, you're better than this.
They'll give it Charlie Daniels for 5 games.
All cleverly.
Or Cleverly, yeah. Charlie Daniels and Cleverly. That's what I'm going for. Maybe, no, but this is positive. Valerian Ismail is going to last the whole season.
Yeah. You know what? That was actually so similar to a Frank Lampard interview.
No, but seriously, I think Ismail will last the whole season.
Okay, so I actually had written down that he is going to last the season, which I've kind of got with the Charlie mindset of kind of I'm blocking out the noise and I'm just like, please, Val, just stay the whole season. But what I would say is if he does go, I actually think he's one of the better managers to leave behind the squad. Because one thing I've been reading about this pre-season, it's been really, really intense. And there's one thing for certain, the fitness is going to be high, just in terms of the way we want to play. And I think one of the big issues last season and the injury crisis came was because actually the fitness levels weren't there. So I actually think, just stick with me on this, if we did sack Val or we got rid of him, I actually think he'd leave us with a team that would be ready to play that brand of football, or they'd bring in, like, I know Manga had a list of managers that he'd want to bring in. I think it would be one of that mould, and they'd be ready to play that same system again. That's my prediction. But my first prediction was he is going to last the season. That's I believe, as Taylor says, I believe in Val. Bull.
I'm going to take the middle ground then, Jacob. Charlie's gone 1, I've gone 3. So take 2.
Do you know what? Just the last thing I would say, it did concern me a little bit when Bachmann says in his captain's notes about going for promotion. Now, I like the ambition, but is that what the board have told him? Is that what the hierarchy have said promotion's the aim? Because I would say at the moment, the squad isn't ready to go up. I don't think it's got the qualities. I think that's a fair claim. I don't think it's going to be an automatic spot. So if Val's slipping below the promotion push, inevitably, as we heard from the sort of like fans forum, Gino's going to stick to his ways. He thinks this is the right way to do things. So look, that's, as Anthony says, kind of sad that that's even a category, is what I would say. Right, moving on to the next one. So my prediction is he will last the season. Charlie's is he will last the season. Sam's was 3 minutes / 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 seasons. But moving on.
Obviously, I do hope he lasts the whole season, and
of course,
I do hope.
No, you want him to go next week.
He's well out already. Lose to QPR and the banners are out.
Where's your banner? Moving on to the next one. Biggest surprise, Charlie.
Tough this. Maybe Bio top scorer could have ended this, but I think I'm going for biggest surprise is Ishmael Kone will be one of our best players this season. He obviously came in midway through last season. I think he showed really, really encouraging spells. He's been playing good for Canada whenever he's played. I think he's quite a suited player to what Ishmael want. High energy. I think his pressing will be high quality. I've said on many a video before, I think he's got a really good ceiling. So I think that Kone could be one of the better players that hopefully at the end we're saying we've got a bit of a player here, and it might even be a case that other teams are looking at him. So I'm backing Kone to have a breakthrough season.
I like that shout. That's really nice. Sam?
In a similar vein, I'm going with Matty Pollock to have a breakthrough season this year. I think he really showed at Aberdeen that he's a really capable player. He showed in the lower leagues that he had a really capable player. And I think as too many Watford fans, and I mean, you could argue that it's fair judging him off that half an hour nightmare spell away at Millwall last season where Tom Bradshaw absolutely rinsed him. But I think if he's able to get a run of games, and no doubt he will when Watford players start getting injured or need to be rotated for fitness reasons, I could see him cementing a starting place this season and really impressing and surprising a few people as well.
Really nice shout. I've also gone with the breakout theme, and I've gone with Mateus Martins because he showed flurries last season, and I think if he gets a regular run in the side and the way Val wants to play, I think that could be a good season for him. I think he showed bright sparks last season when he played. I just think he needs a regular run in the team, and he will get that, I think. So I'm going to go with Mateus Martins to have a breakout season. There was a few others that in the comment section. So we'll do player of the season in a minute, but surprise of the season, Ryan Andrew will be player of the season. Sierralta in that number 6 role. We've got Martins becomes the forthcoming of Jesus. A calmer settled hoop, maybe. That would be a surprise. But Shane goes Jake and Livermore might not be terrible. But I like this one. Ince and Bayer will score 8 goals each. So some interesting shouts in there. I think that one always gets people talking. So Charlie's gone Kone breakout season. Sam's gone Pollock breakout season. I've gone Mateus Martins breakout season. Surely one of them will be right. Surely. Moving on to the next one. Charlie. Hot take for the season.
I feel like this category is very similar to the biggest surprise, really, because my hot take was going to be what Sam just said. I was going to say that I think Matty Pollock might become a regular starter for us, and I'll just pivot from that because I don't want to be too boring. And someone in the comments has said it, but I'll just say it for a laugh anyway. I think Francesco Sierralta could become the second coming of Pirlo and be the DM that Val wants. Anthony, you know your spuds.
Big shout.
That would be. Is he actually a number 6 though? Or is it just like an advanced centre back?
So yeah, when we got the ball, he's moving up the pitch and turning into a number 6, and he doesn't look terrible with the ball on his feet of what I've seen. And I think it's, for me, his kind of his turning, and I think he could take a few yellow cards in transition. But look, if Val's trusted him and he's impressed Val through pre-season training, he's going to be good. If teams are playing long balls against us, he's going to be able to compete in the air. So it would be some redemption arc if Sierralta turned into an unbelievable holding midfielder, wouldn't it? So I'm here for it.
I like that. Yeah, I think it's, as Anthony says, it's more of a halfback role. Sam?
A bit of a different theme to what we've discussed already, but my hot take is we will go on a cup run this season in one of the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup. I'm not too sure which, and obviously a lot of things need to fall into place for that to happen in terms of getting favourable draws. But Stevenage away, it's a nice start. If we can get through that this time next week, I mean, we always struggle in the Carabao Cup in those first 2 rounds, but something just tells me this season there'll be a little cup run and maybe even a cup upset along the way too.
How deep are we going?
I'm going to go quarter-final of the FA Cup.
Ooh.
Wow. Who are we
Go
getting
out.
knocked out to, Sam? Where's your crystal ball?
Man City away. Haaland
Score on.
7-0 double hat-trick.
I really like that. I've actually got a football conspiracy theory that we draw Stevenage every year in the cup away, and it's always in August. Moving on to my hot take. So the one I wrote down as soon as I saw it was Asprey will be Championship Young Player of the Year.
Nice.
That was because I was thinking with what's the Bristol City's player's name? I've just completely gone blank. Alex Scott. I mean, Bristol City were kind of floating around mid-table, dropped off a little bit. And I think it gives an opportunity for one of those players to like really just take off. And I don't know what it is about Asprey, but I think this season is going to be a season. So that's my hot take, that he'll win Young Championship Player this season. We'll just go through a couple, some really good ones, I have to say, in the comment section. So Jim's gone Tom Ince Player of the Year. Adeyemo to score 6. Val will succeed. Pollock needs game time. Hot take, Gino sells the club. Another Adeyemo one, scores 5 goals and makes regular appearances off the bench. I like that one.
I think that's a really good shout. Like a reference to Val going for those 3 substitutes on 60 minutes. I really like that suggestion.
I love the variety of these. GT Official, the home kit will be idolised one in years to come. And Bachmann will thrive off the captaincy. So really nice shouts in there. So we'll move on to the next one. So best signing, Charlie. So out the current ones, we've got Healy, Ince, Livermore, Jamal Lewis, Chakvedetsi. Any others I missed?
Martins as well, if you want.
Martins, yeah, we've got Martins.
I'm gonna go for Jamal Lewis. I think he's a really, really smart bit of business. We've done a good video with Chris from Talk Norwich City, so make sure you check that out if you haven't already. He was really good for Norwich in their promotion season. Liverpool wanted him. Newcastle ended up paying around 15 million for him. He's got good energy. I think he's going to make that left back role his own and be really good for us. Good at delivering balls, which is suited to what Val wants. Hopefully the Crow can be on the end of it, head a few in. I think really good bit of business. It might be a bit boring and a bit of a safe bet, but I think, Jamal Lewis will be our best signing.
Great shout. I think Lewis is the one that, from what I've been seeing, most people stand out with. But Sam, have you gone for a different angle?
I have, yeah. Maybe I'm putting all my eggs in one basket, but like the top scorer, I'm going to go with Tom Ince as signing of the season. It's probably a bit of a risk putting everything in one basket, but I think he's someone with championship experience. Yes, he got relegated last year, but he had some of the best stats in the league in terms of pressing and winning the ball back as well, I think. He's perfect for Valerian Ismail's system, and if we can get him fully fit, which, as mentioned earlier, he doesn't seem to be at the moment, I think we've got a fantastic bit of business there for 50 grand or whatever it was.
I think you can't beat that deal. I don't know what's actually happened to him at the moment. Does any of you guys know if he's injured? Because he hasn't been featuring any of the pre-season games. Maybe it's just his fitness needs to get up.
He might have featured against Peterborough, but we don't know. Obviously, the club are holding something back because a certain player might have been player, etc. So he might have played against Peterborough. It's going to be exciting when that team news drops on against QPR on Saturday at 2 p.m.
Very true. One name, this is not the name I've gone for, but Woody Hurtado. Oh, always believe in your soul. So Hurtado is someone who I think it was scheduled for him to come in. I don't actually know what's happening with him, but Fabian's in the comment section has gone for Hurtado. There was a couple of other shouts for him as well. The player I've actually gone for is so it was actually a toss-up between, for me, Lewis and Livermore. And the reason I've gone with Livermore is because I think we've got this knack of signing a player on a free, like a Carlos Sanchez, like a Ben Watson. I know they're in the middle of the season, but they just seem to prove a few people wrong. And I think with Jake Livermore, he'll play a bit more than I think some people would probably like. But I actually think he'll do a job for us. And that might be my hot take / signing of the season. But I actually think he'll go on to be a decent signing for us. That's my signing of the season.
It could be a hot take. And yeah, I see a couple of people in the comments, but I am really excited to see Chatspadetsky. I think I mentioned in previous videos, if he can be like a Fernando Forestieri type player for us and get us off our seat, he'd be really exciting to watch. So fingers crossed we can get that confirmed sometime this year. Yeah,
hopefully. Shout out to Taylor as well for bringing up Hurtado. I've got to give you credit because you were the man who threw it out there. I think that's pretty much it in terms of the shouts. There's not many to choose from at the moment, to be completely honest. One man who hasn't been mentioned at all is Healy, and as the guys in the not top 20 said, he could be a man to look out for. Moving on, player of the season, Charlie Zazzera. That is, you're not going to be player of the season, but
no, you never know.
I'm going for Imran Loser. I think people are sleeping on Loser a bit. Well, I can see Sam getting ruffled already. Yeah, even last season, I looked at his numbers before. He got 5 goals and 4 assists. I think that's a goal contribution, 159 minutes. He barely started, but he still makes an impact. We signed him for £10 million. He's a Moroccan international. I think he shows glimpses of high quality. We saw Blackpool away, that free kick. The Norwich game at home last season, scored 2 nice goals. I think he could be on penalties and free kicks this season. Look at Valérien Ismaël in recent years. Alex Mowat has been a key player. I think that's Loser's going to play that role. So I think he's going to be having plenty of shots from outside the area. I think he's a really quality player. He's been given that membership for the leadership group, so hopefully he can thrive on that. Hopefully he can keep injury free. But I could see him putting up 10 and being a really good player, and maybe another club, him getting a bigger move after that, because he has got quality there. He just needs consistent game time. But I'm backing him around Loser this season.
Yeah, lovely shout. I think Loser's definitely someone who I could see having a really good season. It'd be interesting to see how he adapts to that different system, because we've been playing him in a sort of holding role. And I think that's a great shout in the sense I think he's a bit better further forward anyway. So could definitely see that. Sam,
are you okay with that shout?
I am. Yeah, I don't have this agenda against Loser. It's a new season. It's a new slate. I just hope that I think the injury really affected him last season to the point where it was difficult to watch because he just wasn't at it at all, I don't think. So hopefully he's had a good preseason. And you're right, there is a player in there. There's a really exciting player there who can really kick on and do big things in his career. I just hope the injury troubles don't really get in the way for him. But my player of the season, I'm going to go with Ryan Andrews because... Well, assuming the fact that it's going to be voted for by the fans again, fans already will have a soft spot for Ryan Andrews because he's one of our own ultimately. And as I've always said, the back end of last season, I was so impressed by what I saw from him. I think someone who's good on the ball, he's confident off the ball as well, and can do a job in 1v1 situations. So I really like the look of him. Hopefully Ismail can nurture him. The big question obviously is, can he do it through a whole season rather than just the back end last 8 to 10 games or whatever it was. But yeah, I've got high hopes for Andrews, and he's my player of the season shout.
Lovely shout. The only thing I'd say about Loser is I could see a Prem team come in for him. Just could see it. Maybe. That's my only prediction. But I think Andrews is actually mentioned in mine, but for another award. I've gone with my boy Asprilla. No, I honestly think Asprilla, with that extra bit of responsibility, he's going to be playing a lot. Might take out of him. I think we might be a little bit inconsistent, but I think on his day, he's our best player in terms of the passing ability, his touch, his awareness. And what I will say is there's a reason why Brighton have shown a bit of interest in him, because he is a proper player. So I think if Asprilla can turn up this season, it'll be interesting to see if he's put on a little bit of muscle over pre-season, because we saw with Joao how much better he was when he did that. I've just got faith in Yasser to deliver this season. So I'm going to go with Asprilla. Some of the shouts, so Tyler's also gone for Andrews. Got Kone, Sierralta, Porteous. Up the horns has gone in Ngakia. Lewis or Loser says Woody. Porteous.
Porto's a good shout, isn't it? Like what Sam said about being a fan's favourite and where he get voted, and I think same with Espria. And I think one thing, Jacob, which I think is important when we have players that are that special and that gifted, we need to play them as much as possible and give them the opportunity. And we know that the league's physical, but I think this is the only way to beef him up. And I think he's that good that he needs to be one of the first name on the team sheet because he's that player who could do something a bit special, get a through ball through to create a goal. I think he can score goals himself. So I'm hoping Espria can get as many starts this season and become one of our best players.
100%. I think he's got all the ability to do so. Young player of the season now, I guess Espria fits into that category as well. But Charlie, young player of the season, who do you think it will be?
Yeah, I've gone Ryan Andrews, and I really like Sam's shout. And again, this could come back to bite me, this kind of vibe. But I'm really hoping we're seeing kind of our version of Trent Alexander-Arnold. I don't think he's got the same attributes in terms of passing range and stuff like that, but I just think once you have a player who is generally one of your own, and he is with his dad who used to play, come through the academy, who can go on and be a really good player, I think it creates that special connection which we haven't had for so long. I look at like teams like Aston Villa with Jacob Ramsey, and it just means that much more to have one of their own going out and giving everything for the shirt. I'm really hoping he can cement that shirt. Every time that I see him, he just looks like he grows in confidence. He strides around the pitch. He gets forward really well. He looks good in 1v1 duels. So I think he's not scared to take a shot on either. So fingers crossed that Ryan Andrews can really break through and become potentially a Watford legend for years to come.
Touch wood. I think he's the obvious shout, Sam, Andrews. And also a lot of people in the comments are saying Andrews. Have you gone with, well, you've gone with him for player of the season. So
Yeah. I decided I'd switch it up a bit as well, just because, I mean, logically, I should be going for him for both, but I'll go with the Espria for my young player of the season. As you said, Jacob, I hope he's bulked up over the summer because there's a real special player there, particularly his eye for a pass. It is really, really good, really impressive. And if he can get a consistent run of games together, I think it'll be a big season for him. And then the question after that, if he does have a good season, is can we keep him for another year after that, or will we cash in?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got I honestly think he's got the lot of Espria. I just think he needs to just get a little bit. I think he just needs to play games, to be honest. He needs consistency playing in the system week in, week out. I genuinely think it's as simple as that, and we'll see the best of him. But a young player of the season, I've gone with Andrews as well, which is a bit boring. Having said that, I think what Charlie mentioned about Trent, I actually think his nearest comparison from what I've seen so far is someone like Max Aarons. Ryan Andrews. I think when you look at the like sort of attributes he has, I don't think there's that dissimilar. Obviously, and I was thinking because Max Aarons was at Luton, wasn't he, initially, and then he went to Norwich. But I think honestly, what you saw with Aarons is someone who played week in, week out. I know it was under the same manager in Daniel Farke, but how quickly he can progress. And then, I mean, he probably should have got a move to, I think Spurs and Bayern were linked to Aarons, but he could have got a move there, and he was holding his own in the Prem. So I honestly think Andrews, for young player of the season, just a couple of other names to throw out there who fit in the category, which is under, would you say it's under 23 or under 21 of what we going for?
I think you can bend the rules depending who you want, but like we mentioned earlier, Ismail Kone is still 21. Really young. What's he, 21? So if he has a good season and someone's a bit better, I've seen Woody Fletcher in the comments said about Jack Greaves. I've raved about Jack Greaves. I thought he was great in the FA Youth Cup last season. I'd love to see him on the bench against QPR, playing against Stevenage, coming off the bench here and there. That'd be great to see as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kone fits into that category if we're saying around 21 and under. Another name to throw out there who's a bit of a forgotten man, Quadro Bar, who is in the squad. Sam looks like when Omri, when Rodgers got sacked there. Drop that name in. The other name, James Morris, fits in that category. Matty Pollock, Mateus Martins. There's a few options there in terms of 21s and under.
Morris is one who did cross my mind. I just don't think he'll get the game time at this point now, since the signing of Lewis.
Yeah, I think that's a fair shout. And then last but not least, and this is probably the one that's going to split the most opinion, where will Watford finish this season? Now, I've seen all I already know Sam's shout, I think, from when he did the top 20, like the 24, 1 to 24. But Charlie, where will Watford finish this season? And is this positive Charlie hat on, or is this realistic Charlie hat on? Or both?
Which one do you want? Yeah, I've been really thinking about this. I've done a 1 to 24 as well, and I've listened to a few. The quality of the league this season with Plymouth and Ipswich going up is not doing us any favours. And then you look at the likes of Coventry, decided to spend another £7 million on a striker today on top of Ellis Sims and buying a Dutch left back. So they're going to be really strong. Leicester, Southampton, Leeds are going to be unreal. I'm going to go that we're going to finish an optimistic 10th. And it's actually been quite funny because I was actually on the way home, I was listening to Voices of the Vic podcast, a shout out to those guys for all the work they've done. And sometimes, and you see on Twitter as well, when we put it out on our Twitter, that you're seeing a lot of like negativity, and then they go, oh, what's your prediction? And a lot of people like 6th, 7th, 8th, like sneak playoffs, which is a bit like kind of contradicted. So I don't know if that expectation's still lingering in people's minds, but I think this championship season compared to last championship season is going to be a lot tougher. So 10th, if we finish 10th and we have a team which we've enjoyed watching and Val last the whole season, and it looks like we've got a bit of a platform to go on next season, I would, the cliches, I would snap your hand off right now.
Love it. Sam?
I'll go 15th.
It's just the way you dropped it in.
I always feel quite bad going after Charlie because Charlie.
Charlie, scrap 10, 15, mate.
Watford have one manager this season. Yeah, I think we'll have 3. I think, to be honest with you, it's not too dissimilar from what Charlie said, because in the Championship, that gap between 10th and 15th can often be quite tight, only a few points, maybe 3 to 6 points. So I think in that mid-table sort of area where we'd be just above the relegation scrap, but we won't be near the playoff race. But if we've got a team that we enjoy watching, exciting young players with an identity and a style of play, I'll be happy with that.
Bang on.
Not happy, I'd be content with that.
Yeah, agreed. So I've gone with 14th, and I think we'll finish on 60 points. Is my prediction.
Wow, yeah.
The reason I've gone 14th is I just think squad depth might be a little bit of a hindrance for us, and we are bearing in mind there is still a bit of the transfer window to go. But even so, it would have to be a pretty special end of the window to give us the real squad depth, I think, if we wanted to be pushing for the playoffs. And I think it's basically echoing what both you guys said. It's more for me about this season is making sure we consolidate our championship status. I know that sounds, but first and foremost, you have to do that before we even look up. Make sure we're just doing that. I think a style of play, utilising our young players, which we do have some talented young players, and just going to games and enjoying it. And I think I'd much rather that than almost be in it. I think I just don't want to repeat it last season. Last season was arguably the worst season to be a Watford fan. It was just terrible. So as long as I don't see a repeat of last season, I think 14th is my realistic hat on. If I was going to be more positive, I'd probably say 11th.
I do think what's really important for us is the start of the season. I think we've got quite a favourable start. And when I was looking at predictions, I'm looking at the vibes for each club. And I think if we have a couple of bad results, again, I think it could turn sour, and that just infects to the players, the whole thing. So that's why let's get behind everyone at QPR. Let's hopefully get a couple of 3 or 4 wins early on, and I think that will really set us in good stead because we've got a favourable run in, and as soon as the hard games could be coming on against the big boys who have been spending £20 million and stuff like that on their players. So I think the start of the season is vital for us this year.
Absolutely. I'm not going to put every comment on screen about the predictions, but in terms of the spectrum of positions, we've got up from 4th to 18th. So there's a real mixed views. I'd probably say the average. What I would say is I think the average position, if I was just working out on the top of my head, would probably be about 11th, 10th. if I'm just from what I'm seeing, correct if I'm wrong, but just kind of adding everyone's together. I think the comments are slight. I mean, the comments are saying we're going to be pushing for playoffs a lot of the comments. But look, I'd be absolutely buzzing with that. And I think that kind of wraps up our predictions. There any final?
Last one, score prediction for Saturday.
Wow, Samuel, love it. Go on, mate, you kick us off.
We should do a little league this season, actually, spontaneously between us three. I think Do Not Scratch Your Eyes do something similar. So, we'll give credit to them for that. But we'll do a little league between us three. I'll track it. We'll all give our predictions each week.
Who really knows ball?
Should we do? What should we say for a forfeit at the end?
This is on camera, so don't be saying get a Luton shirt on.
Should we do it for charity? We'll do it for charity.
Yeah, we'll do it. What?
Best comment about a forfeit, and we'll do it. Something about charity is absolutely fine. So make sure you get in the comments what's a fair forfeit, and then the loser will have to do that.
Jumping in the pond when we finish 14th.
I've already seen it. All right, I'll kick off. I'm going to go with, for Saturday's game, 2-0 Watford.
Go on, Sam. Great comment from Alex King, by the way, for the forfeit.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, Sam's happy now. You thought.
Go on, Charlie. Prediction for Saturday?
What did Sam say? 2-0 Watford. Oh, God. I don't want this to come back and bite me. I absolutely hate QPR. Gareth Ainsworth came out recently and said they're up against it. Their fans are going mad. A lot of predictions saying they're 24th. 1-0 Watford.
Like that. Just in the meantime, we've got a few. We've got London Marathon as Harry Hornet. We've got what else have we got? Get the Morelos trim.
AG's killed me there. Charlie, 1 year no head shave. I look like Mr.
That's shocking.
I look like Sven-Goran Eriksson.
Okay, opening day, QPR at home. I mean, after the last time they came to our place, that was one of the most frustrated I left the last season, especially with Kiembe's screamer getting ruled out, which I've completely forgot about. I'm gonna go with. I'm actually going to go 1-0 Watford as well.
Do you know the last time
to get the winner?
Nice. Do you know the last time we beat QPR at home? Do you know what game that was?
2009, Lloyd Doyley Day. My first ever Watford game.
At home. Wow, that's a great start.
That's embarrassing. Although we have been in the Premier League for a lot longer.
We probably played them twice, 2-3 times in that time.
Yeah, Woody, I'm going to let you know now, mate. That's not happening. But we'll have a little think about a forfeit to do for the prediction league, and the loser will put some money together and give it to a local charity. But that wraps up our predictions for the 23-24 season. Thanks so much to everyone who got involved. Some really, really good numbers tonight. And on the way out, if you could leave a like, that'd be much appreciated. Make sure you do subscribe, turn on notifications. We'll be back for more regular Watford content this season. It should be a good one. And if you see us on the weekends, make sure you come and say hello. We'd love to have a chat about Watford, as always. And we'll see you in the next one. Up the audits. What are the odds?